Hey guys, it's me, Nina, and today I'm going to be talking about pressure reading. You might be saying, what is pressure reading? Well, pressure reading is when you put a lot of pressure on yourself or on other people to read more or read certain books or anything like that. So, I'll talk about my personal experience, good versus bad pressure, and all of that good stuff. So let's just get into it. First, let's talk about good versus bad pressure. There is good pressure. Sometimes you need to push yourself a little bit more to get something done, and it's not harmful to you, and it's good for you. It can be used to get yourself out of a slump. It can be used to finish a book that you actually like, but just haven't had the motivation to finish, and it can be used in other ways too. There's good pressure, there is, but it's more common to have bad pressure. Reading can have bad pressure when you feel overloaded, when you are overloading yourself, or you're having some sort of impossible goal, like your goal is to read 20 books a month, but in reality you're only reading 3 or 4 books a month. But that's okay, and you have to learn to accept that. It can become a chore if you start setting goals that are impossible for you to reach, and you're reading books that you don't like, but you're reading them because other people are. It becomes a chore, and that's not what reading should be. We have bad pressure. I feel like the reason we have bad pressure, sorry, I'm losing my voice. The reason we have bad pressure is sometimes because of other booktubers. We see these other booktubers who are hugely successful and they're reading 16 books a month. And so we feel like we need to read 16 books a month. And that's not true. There are plenty of successful booktubers who read 2 books a month, and you know, that's okay, and we should not base our goals off of other people. I think the goal for you should be to enjoy reading, period. Maybe set a number goal, and it's fun to do that and see if you can reach your goal, but don't put so much pressure on yourself that you're feeling bad if you don't reach that goal. And also feel the pressure from not reading the new stuff. Like, example is, sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, like, everybody's reading this new book. I don't have that book, and I should be reading that instead of reading this book from 2008 because that is outdated. It's 2018, and I should be reading that book. So putting that pressure on yourself to read something new is completely real, and it happens all the time. And the thing is, even if that book is from 2008 instead of 2018, the book can still be really good. The year doesn't change the content of what's in that book. It doesn't matter if it was from 1900s, like, it doesn't matter if it's from the 1800s. That book can still be really good, even if not everybody's reading it because it's brand new. And the goal for you should be to pick up a book and read a book that you think is interesting, not necessarily it has to be brand new, it's coming out this month and everybody's talking about it. There are books that are going to be coming out that are new, that sometimes I see and I'm like, oh, I really want to read that. But then there's books that come out that are new and I'm just like, that doesn't seem like my type of book or my type of genre, or it's something that I wouldn't be interested in. But sometimes I feel the pressure to read it anyway, even if I feel like I'm not going to like it, just because everybody else is. And I put that pressure on myself, and then I go out and I find this book and I read this book and I really just don't like it. And then I feel bad because everybody else does and I have a different opinion. And it's okay to have a different opinion, but sometimes it can be hard to deal with that and the disappointment of, oh, everybody really likes this book. I really wanted to like it, but I didn't. And that can be really hard to deal with. And you shouldn't be putting this pressure on yourself to like everything that everybody else likes, because everybody has different tastes, and that's something you have to like come to terms with. Like, okay, I'm gonna share some tea with you. Everybody likes Harry Potter. Wow, a huge majority. But I do not. I audiobooked the very first book, and I was just not interested. I was never really interested in Harry Potter. And then I made a New Year's resolution that I was going to read Harry Potter. So I tried out the first book at the library on audio, and I wasn't into it. And I never really was into it. I only made that New Year's resolution because I really felt like Harry Potter was a book I should read versus what I wanted to read, and I just didn't like it. What? Anyway, so when you dislike a huge book like that, it can be controversial, and it can be heartbreaking to you because you really wanted to kind of join the club of, in that fandom of loving this book, but you just don't. Another reason that we put bad pressure on ourselves is maybe because we aren't reading as much as we used to. I talked about booktubers reading 16 plus books, and you want that goal. But example is I used to read about 10 books a month, and now I'm recently getting down to 4 to 6 books a month. And that has been hard on me, and I've been putting pressure on myself to read more. And there's good pressure, but I start to feel down about myself when month after month I'm not reaching that goal. Either because I'm just not into the books that I'm choosing, or I just don't really have the motivation to read, or I don't have the time to read. And it's really been getting me down. And that's when you know it's bad pressure, is when it becomes sad and hard and a chore and you're just feeling bad about yourself. Simon, get off that stuff. My cat is driving me crazy. But you have to know your limits and know when to push yourself and when not to push yourself. And maybe eventually you'll get back up to where you were reading. But that shouldn't be your huge goal. Your huge goal should be choosing books that you genuinely like. So next is reasons why we're not being able to read the new books that everybody's reading and the pressure that comes from that. So number one is money. A lot of people don't have the money to spend on these new books. New books come out and you either get them brand new from the store and they're $20 for the hardcover. I've seen books go up to $30 for hardcover, and that is crazy in my mind. So I very seldom buy a brand new book that just came out in hardcover. And paperbacks can range from 10 to 15, which is a lot cheaper than a hardback, but still. You have to wait for the paperback edition to come out because hardback comes out first, and it's just ridiculous. So a lot of people don't have that extra cash to spend on books. Simon Chase, get off my fake wigs. It's okay not to have that money. Like, you shouldn't be down about yourself because you don't have the money resources that you need. Next is the library doesn't own that book yet. My library gets that new hot books like 2 months after it's hot. You know what I mean? And sometimes they'll get them like right on time, but sometimes it's months before they get them. And that's where I get the majority of my reading material because I don't have the money to spend. I get them from the library. So it can be frustrating when the library doesn't have the book that I want or need. And you can always ask for an interlibrary loan, but again, a lot of other libraries still won't have that book, or there will be a huge reserve list for that book before you can get that book. My third reason is because there's no bookstores around you. They're either used bookstores which just have old books, or there's just none, period, or your bookstore is overly priced. I don't really have bookstores around me. I have one bookstore in town. It's a used bookstore, and I don't go in there very often because the section that I enjoy is very small and not much diversity in the section of genres. The nearest actual bookstore is in a mall, which is about 30 minutes away, and I don't drive, so I don't get there very often. But even when I do, I just don't like spending all that money on a new book. And then the fourth reason is you don't have time to read all these books, or you can't spend this time reading books because you have to spend it on other responsibilities. You have a job, you have kids, you have pets, you have chores, you have bills to pay, and you have things to do, friends to hang out with, people to see, and you just don't have enough time to sit and read 10 books. You know what I mean? And you might only finish one book a month, and that's fine. And you have to come to terms with the fact that you can't always, read a bunch of books. And you have to realize that it's okay. As long as you enjoy that one book you read, that's what should be important. There's always downtime. I feel like I hate when people say, I'm too busy. because there's always some downtime. You have 5 seconds in your day to finish a page. You have some sort of time. You can always make the time to read. So I hate when people say I'm too busy for things, because you can always make time to do something. But whether it's 5 seconds or 5 minutes or an hour, you know, you can still read 1 page or something like that. But again, you don't have the time to finish 20 books. You might have the time to finish 1 page, and that's okay. Goal should be to read for fun, to read to educate yourself. It shouldn't be something that you are just like, oh, I got to do this. It's something you should look forward to versus, oh, I have to go home and do this. And another thing is, you have to learn to DNF. If you're really disliking a book or you're just bored with it, you have to learn to not finish that book. And it's okay not to finish a book. You can put that book down and come back to it some other time, or you can put it down and just never go back to it. I've struggled with DNFing because I always felt like I had to finish a book. What if it has a good ending? What if I end up liking this? But then after so many failed attempts of that, I realized I have to learn what I like and when to stop reading a book and when to give myself a break and start a different one and maybe come back. So I've recently DNF'd quite a bit, and I don't have a problem with that anymore. And that's something I feel like you have to learn to do, is you have to stop yourself from pushing yourself through a book that you just really don't like, because there's other fabulous books out there that you're really excited to read, and you should go for those. Okay. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day. All my social media links are down below, including my Poshmark. Wink, wink. If you're looking for some new clothes, go ahead and buy off me. Also, I have my Poshmark code down below. Also, it's just my name in big capital letters. And you get $5 credit on Poshmark, and it's fabulous. All right, have a wonderful day. Bye.